Next up, we are excited to invite Mr. Nowak, Master Instructor in the Visual Arts and Curator of the Culver Art Collection, to speak about a beautiful new art exhibit that has just arrived on campus.
Good afternoon. Hey, Culver is one of a handful of schools in the United States with an actively managed and educationally focused art collection. To understand the potential of this, you have to imagine yourself being a student in a humanities class and reading The Merchant of Venice, and then walking over to the gallery and seeing a 16th century painting of a merchant from Italy. Or being in a Spanish class and asked to write a observational paragraph and sitting in front of a painting by that very culture. So what's interesting about this is enrichment at its best, and it fits the mission that we have for the Culver Art Collection. Now, this mission also seeks to challenge the aesthetic literacy of the Culver community, and this is a big mandate for a collection that depends on gifts and loans. Imagine the dining hall food if it depended upon donations. So there are times when the gifts we receive actually do challenge our aesthetic literacy and get us out of our aesthetic comfort zone. In 2009, naive artist Betsy Ross Kohler gave us 2 paintings. Ms. Kohler lives in Switzerland, and her sons attended Culver summer camps, and she created 2 paintings as a thank you to Culver. Her works regularly appear in UNESCO catalogs. They're in Nestle publications, and the prints of her work raised over $1 million for Ohio University's scholarship fund. But some in our community actually struggle to understand the art because it is a different art form. One staff member came up to me and said, "How do I take art like this seriously?" And I suggested a book on outsider art. Now he said, "Well, that's fine for me, but how are you going to teach this to the Culver community? You can't have an exhibition with just 2 paintings." And I said, "Well, find the funds and we'll borrow a few works and we'll have an exhibition." And he looked at me and said, "Yeah, right, that's going to happen." And I said, "Well, this is something that could be." And Mr. Buxton, who was head of schools at that time, said to me, "Well, keep your eyes open, and if you ever find an exhibition, let's talk about it." And I said, "Okay." So 5 years later, I'm cruising Craigslist, and an image of a gypsy violinist by a campfire popped on my screen. I immediately recognized this as naive, and after thinking about it, I had to see the painting in person. So 3 days later, I was standing in the evening light outside a shuttered storefront sandwiched between a Colombian restaurant and a Mexican bakery on the near north side of Chicago, waiting for the owner. And when the owner arrived, he showed me not just a couple of naive works, but stacks of paintings, all by one artist who had passed away in 2001. So here's where this experience becomes a mix of scholarly research and a kind of a tinge of Antiques Roadshow. I showed the images of these paintings to many art professionals as I could, and all of them got very excited. And to make a long story short, remember that the art we show here is either a donation or a loan. Mr. Buxton approved planning an exhibition, and I volunteered to purchase the artwork, and after doing the needed research, loan the exhibition to Culver. Now, this may seem out of the norm, but as a scholar, I saw this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something important for the students, to use all of my knowledge and skill in investing something that was outside myself, because this is what Culver teachers actually do every day. As a group, we are passionate about our subject areas, and as a whole, we are willing to use any resource at our personal disposal to deepen and broaden the well of knowledge and experience we provide for our students. So after 4 years of what I think is the most rewarding study of my time as a teacher, the exhibition is now ready for viewing. I believe it communicates volumes about innate creativity, the questions we have about genius, and the ability of the human spirit to thrive through art. So you might want to know what I found. Well, the artist's name is Roman Golla. He was born in the southern mountains of Poland in 1917 and came of age between the two world wars in a time of relative peace. But when the Nazi war machine rolled into Poland in 1939, all this changed for Roman. He was in his 20s when he was swept up in a Nazi roundup of Polish citizens and sent to a slave labor camp in France. After his liberation and repatriation to Poland, Roman Golla emigrated to the United States and settled in Chicago in 1951. And for the rest of his life, he worked, he played chess, he enjoyed singing and playing guitar with friends. And though he never married, you might say that his time in America was something like a miracle compared to what he had experienced in France. But remarkably, in 1964, Roman Golla began a midlife journey as an artist. And he began to paint. And for the next 25 years, he painted with a naive folk wonder. He filled canvas after canvas with images from nature, memories of Poland, fantasies, and his deep love for chess. He actually played in the US Open chess tournaments 4 times. Now, Roman passed away in 2001, and the contents of his studio apartment were quickly dispersed. His paintings were bought and stored for over 12 years by the person who placed them on Craigslist. And given these events, the memory of Roman's imaginative accomplishments might have been lost. Well, that is, until you walk into the gallery. So I invite you to come to the Chris Visual Arts Center to see this and the many other exhibits we have on display. The gallery will be open this evening at 7 p.m. and a gallery talk will be at 7:30, then from 1 to 5, Saturday and Sunday. And I can't close, however, without thanking the student members of the docent corps. They have been intimately involved in this project. Last fall, they came to my studio and actually went through everything that I have, and they chose the exhibition, the paintings for the exhibition, and they played a primary role in the installation of the galleries. Finding Roman Golla has been 4 years in the making, and I believe Roman would be honored by your presence, and on behalf of Docent Corps, I know we would. Thank you.